This review of Might and Magic 7 may contain spoilers and coarse language, and you also should have viewed the Might and Magic 6 video previous to this one. I would highly recommend you check that video out first before continuing into this one. I mean, it's part 2. Like, you really should. So after New World Computing basically made the greatest Western RPG of all time, their bosses at 3DO said, "Well, hey there, guys, could you do that again in a year's time? We sure do love money." And so they did, and wow, does that game feel like that. I'm going to sound overly negative with this game, but Might and Magic 7 is still pretty good, don't get me wrong. The reason why this sounds negative is because this is a comparison to Might and Magic 6, in which this game is a step forward, but 2 steps back. Now let me get to the biggest step forward and the biggest 2 steps back in this game, the story. The story in this game is one with a lot of illusion, like the illusion of choice. On a new continent called Antagaric, 8 aliens crash on the planet of Enroth. Rising from the sea, they eventually split off into 2 separate factions, both representing the light and dark side. Unrelated, your party hears about Lord Markham's quest to have your own castle in Harmondale if you complete the scavenger hunt that he has on Emerald Isle. You do, and become the Lords of Harmondale. Your castle sucks, and you have to clear the goblins and get dwarves to fix it. Okay, great, now it all works. Uh-oh, Arathia, the human kingdom, and Avli, the elven kingdom, have gone to war. It's time for you to pick sides that don't affect you. In fact, you can do both their quests and just whatever. Then at some point, the Arbiter, much like the Seer in the original game, dies. Because you're forced to wait 4 in-game months for the stupid fucking war to end even after you do all the quests, I could see myself dying too. With his death, now you have to choose between the light path or the dark path. Choose wisely, because it affects the entire game. On the light path, you have to do things like steal lich jars from evil necromancers. And you have to kill a bastard named Tolberti to get his control cube. Along the way, you learn that the 8 characters that crash landed, they're the crew from Might and Magic 3. Cool, these games overlap a bit, so instead of ending up on Xeen, they crash on Enroth and need to get to Xeen. Eventually, Archibald, the Dark Path leader who you openly released in Might and Magic 6, gives up his role and tells you to save his brother Roland from the Kriegans. Once you do that, you have to board the ship the crew came on with ancient blasters. And then you have to get the Oscillation Overthruster to beat the game. On the Dark Path, you have to do things like steal soul jars from evil warlocks and kill a bastard named Robert the Wise to get his control cube. Along the way, you learn that the 8 characters that crash landed, they're the crew from Might and Magic 3. Cool, these games overlap a bit, so instead of ending up on Xeen, they crash on Enroth and want to rule the land. Eventually, Archibald, your leader who you openly released from Might and Magic 6, gives up his role and tells you to save his brother Roland from the Kriegans. Once you do that, you have to board the ship the crew came on with ancient blasters. And then you have to get the Oscillation Overthruster to beat the game. Wow, what crazy different plot lines. I can't believe this is just so fucking stupid. You want to know what actually changes? You're able to learn light or dark magic depending on the path you chose and be locked out of the other school completely. And like 3 quests. That's it. This game introduced choice, sure, but it didn't do enough with that option. They could have done much more with this. The monk is the only class in this game that they actually do something with on the light or dark path. Why stop there? Like maybe if a thief went on the light path, it couldn't Grandmaster stealing. Or a paladin, if it was on the dark path, could Grandmaster plate. There's potential here. They just didn't do enough. Same thing with the magics too. They took a spell like Day of Protection, which is a great dark spell in 6, put it on the light side, and then made the light side overpowered because of that. It's so easy for you to learn all these so quickly. The dark side, it still has its potential, but you're not going to have enough magic to cast a lot of the spells in it. Though I won't deny Pain Reflection is a great spell, you need to be Master Rank in order for it to affect your entire party. Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I haven't said anything about the new classes and races. This time around, not everybody's a human here. We also get elves, goblins, and dwarves, with elves being good at magic, dwarves being good at combat, and goblins being ungodly good at combat. We also get 3 new classes: the monk, the master of unarmed and dodging, and overall an ass-kicking machine, the thief, who can steal everything and be a competent damage dealer, and the ranger, who is completely useless, and every other class is better. As well, the previous 6 classes have returned into this one. And speaking of classes, guess what's rebalanced? Might and Magic 7 did some things right. They added a new rank, Grandmaster, and they also made so that ranks correspond to certain tiers and aren't random requirements anymore. 4 is still always Expert, 7 is now Master, and 10 is Grandmaster. Another thing is that guilds no longer exist. You can learn skills right at stores, which is way more convenient and a little cheaper in some aspects. But you still have to get guild memberships for spells. Lame. Now here's where it gets bad. Instead of having skills be like they were in Might and Magic 6, now there's a limit to skills that you can learn. And my god, did they fuck up bad here. So hey, guess who can get Master Disarm Trap? You know, a skill that you basically need if you want to make money in this game. Or in general, just beat it. Oh, a thief can, and a monk if you take the dark route. And that's it. Okay, didn't need Master Disarm Trap. I guess you could just troop through with some guy with Expert and just keep cramming points into it. How about Merchant? Oh, a cleric can Grandmaster it. Why? Is this a subtle jab at some other religious following that is known for their money? Oh well, at least a thief can get Master, and that's it. Starting to see the pattern here? There's no such thing as replacements or close enoughs in this game. If there is one, it's the thief. The thief can do way too much. So gone is the freedom of an all-knight party or an all-sorcerer party or whatever. Now you basically need a thief. So since there's no difference unless you're a monk, which path should you take? I say light. The first reason is that the light path is the canon path. Why? Well, then what is Might and Magic for? Stupid. And also they confirmed that it was, so. The second reason is that the beginning quest won't give you a migraine. On both sides you have to prove you're worthy to the 4 aliens there. On the light side, you have to go through the Halls of Mist. All you gotta do, turn invisible, get 3 keys, get out of there. Done. Without killing anyone. On the dark path, it's basically the same thing. You have to just get to the other side of a dungeon. The problem is, they put enemies that are like level 40 when you're like level 20. So it's a lot harder. The only way I was able to get through this dungeon is to use a lot of trickery. And no, you can't just turn invisible and walk around them. They have very, very wide hitboxes. Because of that, they kind of feel like walls. The only thing I could figure out was to trick them via Lloyd's beaconing myself, so I'd make them all find me, run to me, Lloyd's beacon myself back on top, and then they'd all have to find me while I'm on the top and just run into me. Then I could lure them into the corner and get them. This sucks. I shouldn't have to do this in a dungeon. If you can find a way to do this dungeon with a very might-orientated party, then more power to you, because I just can't. This is way too bullshitly hard. Oh, and the other thing is that Resurrection is pretty fucking hot. I mean, hell yeah, dude. But speaking of bad dungeons, there are quite a few in this game. Ones that I can think of off the top of my head are the Tunnels of Tunnels of Eoful, which are just this giant, long, winding line inside of dirt with dirt and dirt. Then there's also the Tunnels of Nyan, which are dirt and dirt. But that dungeon is a lot smaller, and if you know some magic, it's a lot shorter. Then there's places like the Barrow Downs, where you just jump into random tunnels and figure out where the hell you're supposed to go. Not that fun. And even better, you have to go to every above ground barrow to unlock the doors so that you can see which tunnels you're even going through! Isn't that just fun? There are some dungeons that are cool though, like the Titan Stronghold, where you spend your time as a mouse on the floor as dragons and titans swoop overhead and wonder why their treasure keeps disappearing. There are a few on the side that are also really good too, like the Minotaur Labyrinth, which I always like doing. Though with the rest of the dungeons, they come off as alright, albeit somewhat boring. That's not really the dungeon's fault though, the design is pretty okay in most of them, they just have shitty colors. In fact, I remember more that I didn't like Watchtower 6 and the Lincoln, which, god damn, you don't even have to explore half of it. The fucking sci-fi era, you just can ignore it. Like, what the fuck? Now, if there's one thing that this game sadly took a hit on, it was charm. In the previous game, when you talk to people, that's what they were, people. They didn't tell you their job profession immediately. In this game, that's what they do. They don't have any personality anymore. They're just things. Though I will say that the bad FMV that Might and Magic 6 had is still in this game pretty prevalently. However, this time they actually took the effort of writing some pretty damn good jokes in it.
Wait a minute. Go back.
You mean the part where I personally slew 2 elves with a single arrow?
No. After that lie.
Though I won't deny that there are some glitches in this game that I'm quite fond of. Like, I hate when I lose the Divine Intervention book. Do you think you can help me out? Thanks, Arbiter. That's really great. Oh, I lost it again. Do you think you can... thanks, man. Alright, cool. And, you know, I'm really glad that you can just sell these. Though I will say that there is some charm still in this game, I do feel like it is a bit toned down this time around. But thankfully, this game still had some improvements in it. The combat is mostly the same, except there's a minor difference or two here. Now your party can move, and it also makes it so that they take 5 steps relative to the speed that they're going. Same thing with enemies too, so slower enemies take some time to catch up to you. They also added a little bit more than just recover penalty reduced and recover penalty eliminated with a lot of the armors. Grandmaster Chain and Plate in particular have some nice benefits now. Alchemy also became a skill, and they made potions way more powerful than they were in the last game, so I would recommend that if you have a druid, you use them. There's also some new skills like Arm Master, which is extremely helpful for making you fight very quickly and do a lot of damage. There are also some minor improvements in the game as well. The first is that barrels boost your stats to +2 now. If you didn't know, the barrels in the previous game could only increase your stats by 1. It also changed how it sorts items. In Might and Magic 6, items were sorted from top to bottom. Now they're sorted from left to right, which makes it so it's a lot easier to have your inventories filled up. You also have Castle Harmondale, which at the start blows, but eventually you get your own church, you can even eat and sleep in there, and you can sell your own shit while you're in your own castle. That's pretty nice. The other addition is the minigame Archromage. Archromage is a fun card game that I have to say is very addicting at times. And if you do the quest to challenge this game at every tavern and win, you'll get some very nice loot in the process. There's also some returning quests like the Obelisk quest, which is still pretty good in this game too, though you don't get as much money. You can also find out where Grandmaster and Master rank teachers are for every skill. This already is a great improvement because it saves on you writing down notes. Even though it is kind of finicky to hover over houses, right-click, and see if the last names match. But if only you could get notes for your expert teachers. Now, since there's nothing left to talk about, how about the graphics? They're butt, alright? This game just looks like butt. They may be saying, okay, but what's the difference, alright? It's the exact same game engine. What did they do? Oh... yeah, you kind of noticed that immediately, right? So instead of the extremely crisp textures and really nice color design that made every dungeon in Might and Magic 6 look much more unique, now everything is just dirt. It's just dirt and desaturated and it looks ugly. Like, I won't deny that a few dungeons in Might and Magic 6 reused textures, but in 7, everything is dirt! All these places look the same! I'm not someone that complains about graphics often. This is just a serious downgrade, and because of that, it makes every dungeon look even more boring than it actually is. There's minor improvements to the game itself, like how it uses hardware acceleration things like colored lights and... I don't know what else. The other problem is they also use 3D models for characters. So it was already pretty funny when you had people from New World Computing dressing up, but I guess they just ran out of staff or something. Now every character is kinda... Some seem to fall into the uncanny valley effect when there's others that do look pretty alright, like the Goblin. I feel like if these places just looked more unique and had better color, it would look decent despite the obvious downgrade with sprite compression. Man, I sure hope a game does that at some point. The sound in this game is very good still. I can't say I dislike it, but I still feel like it's a step down. The music here isn't as endearing or grandiose as Might and Magic 6. It's toned down, and I can't say I'm that big of a fan of it. But that doesn't mean there aren't any songs that I'm not a fan of. Oh, there's definitely a few songs. The sound effects and voice acting seem to still be good and cheesy respectively. I do like how yelling in this game is not just the same guy or girl for yelling. This time it's character specific, which is already great. Oh yeah, also forgot to mention in 6, yelling makes it so that NPCs move out of the way. A good thing in 6 and 7, not so very helpful in the next game. I will say that some of the newer sound effects are fun to listen to, but I'm glad Heroism still has the as a sound. Yeah, some of the new effects are fun, and the voice acting is also deliciously cheesy. But for real, some character voices are amazing. I love having the red-haired elf in my party, who's a complete ditz.
I want in!
So overall, this game is just a step down. Look, I may be screaming my head off like a nerd over this game, but that's only because I care about it a lot. Might and Magic 7 is just a game that was so blah comparatively to its predecessor that it's hard for me to not get upset. What could have been a huge step up turned into a game that, while still good, was clearly rushed and wasn't completely balanced right. If the balancing was better, there was a lot more done with the light and dark elements, and because of the art, it didn't look boring. I think it would have been a way better game than it turned out. At the base, this game is still pretty good. It's almost exactly the same as Might and Magic 6 right at the core, so it can still be a pretty damn fun game to play. It's just disappointing. So now on this list you saw Might and Magic 6 was incredible, just needed some refinement. Might and Magic 7 had the refinement, but then had some problems. So then, what did the next game do? Might and Magic 8? You're going to find out next time. You know, this would be a really sneaky way to get rid of these guys if only they weren't immune to earth magic.